north and south on the flat Earth. Polaris is the North Star that sits directly over the North Pole, which on the flat Earth model is the immovable center of the world. It is the one star in the night sky that for thousands of years it has remained in the same position and still to this day does not move. The stars revolve around the center point of the North Pole, and the ancients observed the world in the heavens this way. On the flat Earth model, Antarctica is not just a continent of ice at the bottom of the world, but rather is a giant wall of ice surrounding the Earth and holding in its oceans at 360 degrees. The wall extends east and west and is estimated to being around 100 to 200 feet tall. It might sound a little odd, but it is true that if you set a bearing towards the south, you will encounter a huge ice wall surrounding Earth. Captain Cook was just one explorer to have reached this ice wall, and he and his crew circumnavigated the wall. We do not know how far the ice extends onward past Earth, but we do know it exists. Normal civilians are not allowed to explore this wall of ice thanks to the United Nations and their treaties and surveillance. If Earth was really a spinning ball, then the southern lines of latitude below the equator would become gradually smaller and smaller for circumnavigation. On the flat Earth model, the southern lines of latitude would become gradually larger and larger for circumnavigation. Captain Cook, along with the other Antarctic explorers, stated how the southern oceans did not match their charts for the lines of latitude, and that they would find themselves sometimes around 20 to 30 miles away from where they thought they should be. On the flat Earth map, east and west would extend to the right and left, just as a compass displays. North, or the North Pole, would be as how the ancients knew it, magnetic north. The ancients called it magnetic north because they believed that towards the center of the flat plane, it acted like a magnet. This is why no matter where on our flat Earth, when you hold a compass, it always will point to the north, which appears to act like a magnet, drawing you to that direction. On our globe Earth model, we are shown that north is up and south is down, but that would not explain why compasses act the way they do. Only a flat Earth can explain that. For about half of a century, there has existed an international Antarctic treaty which prevents all independent exploration of Antarctica. In other words, any normal civilian wanting to go down to Antarctica without permission from the government will be arrested. Pre-approved guide tours exist, which can take visitors to some coastal regions of Antarctica, but there is no independent exploration of Antarctica ever to be allowed. A sailor named Jarl Andhoy was caught attempting to explore Antarctica. He was threatened, turned around at gunpoint, then he was fined, and then thrown in jail for violating the military-enforced Treaty of Antarctica. If there is nothing in Antarctica but penguins and ice, and it is really just a continent owned by no nation, why would they be so strict about any normal civilian going down to Antarctica to just explore it, just to see if they've been told the truth and if it's really there? If the government has been telling us the truth about Antarctica, there would be no need for a treaty restricting any civilian to go down there. Arctic and Antarctic. If Earth was really a spinning ball tilted on its axis, then the Arctic and Antarctic regions would share the same climate changes and temperatures. The seasons would also be similar, and even the animal and plant life would not differ. The length and amount of daylight would also be similar, even though on a globe they would be the same. However, the Arctic and Antarctic differ in many ways when one looks at the regions north and south of the equator. The Arctic region clearly has 4 different seasons, including warm summers, which produce much of the animal and plant life which is completely impossible in the Antarctic region. In the north, the Eskimo live up to about the 79th parallel, while in the south, there are no natives to be found anywhere above the 56th parallel. Many Arctic explorers wrote how they witnessed an extreme abundance of animal and plant life, which amazed them by its beauty. One of these explorers, a Russian by the name of Admiral Ferdinand von Wrangel, once wrote, "Countless herds of reindeer, elks, black bears, foxes, sable, and gray squirrels fill the upland forest. Stone foxes and wolves roam over the low ground. Enormous flights of swans, geese, and ducks arrive in spring and seek deserts where they may molt and build their nest in safety. Eagles, gulls, and owls pursue their prey along the seacoast. Ptarmigan run in troops among the bushes. Little snipes are busy among the brooks and in the morasses. The social crow seeks the neighborhood of man's habitations, and when the sun shines in spring, one may sometimes even hear the cheerful note of the finch, and in autumn that of the thrush." Antarctica is the exact opposite of the Arctic, with its temperatures ranging down below zero, making it annually the coldest place on Earth. The average temperature of the Antarctic is around negative 57 degrees Fahrenheit, and the lowest record was negative 135 degrees Fahrenheit. In the Antarctic region, the temperatures differ to about half of the Arctic's. The North has warm summers along with reasonable winters, while the South has annual frigid temperatures and never warms up enough to even melt any snow or ice, but rather remains a frozen, barren land. In the South, the plant life varies greatly from the North. The island of Kerguelen is 49 degrees on the southern latitude and can only grow 18 species of plants, while up north in Iceland, at 65 degrees above the equator, 870 distinct species of plants can grow. The infamous Captain Cook explored the Isle of Georgia, which is 54 degrees south of the equator, the same as England and Canada up north, where great forests and an abundance of trees grow. Yet Cook could not find a single shrub on the isle. Cook once wrote, "Not a tree was to be seen. The lands which lie to the south are doomed by nature to perpetual frigidness, never to feel the warmth of the sun's rays, whose horrible and savage aspect I have not words to describe. Even marine life is sparse in certain tracts of vast extent, and the seabirds is seldom observed flying over such lonely waste. The contrast between the limits of organic life in Arctic and Antarctic zones is very remarkable and significant. Vegetables and land animals are found at nearly 80 degrees in the north, while from the parallel of 58 degrees in the south, the lichen and such like plants only clothe the rocks, and seabirds and the cetaceous tribes alone are seen upon the desolate beaches. The Arctic and Antarctic on the flat Earth model are clearly shown in the reality of what occurs in these regions of the north and south. If the sun circles over Earth every 24 hours and goes from tropic to tropic at a span of 6 months, then the northern center of the Earth, the Arctic, would gain more light and warmth than the Antarctic ever would. The southern region is larger than the northern, so the sun must travel faster to complete its full 24-hour cycle, while the northern region is smaller, so its speed slows down. That would explain why the North Arctic region experiences a twilight that can last for hours after the sunset, and sometimes in the midsummer, the sun does not set over the horizon at all. This is also why, in the southern Antarctic region, the dawn of the morning and twilight of the evening are very short and quick, and this phenomena of the Arctic and Antarctic is complete proof of the sun circling over our flat Earth.